Hey guys, Aaron here. Today we're going to be replacing the spark plugs on a Nissan Titan. Now this particular truck is a 2006 with about 110,000 miles. However, if you have a 2004 through 2015, these procedures will be the exact same. Now the OEM service interval for these trucks is 105,000 miles. So at 110, I really don't see us coming into any issues as far as spark plug removal. So before we begin, let's go ahead and go over the tools and parts we're going to need to get the job done. So we're going to need a 5/8 spark plug socket, a 10mm socket, a 3-inch extension, a 3/8 ratchet, a 6-inch extension, a torque wrench, and some antisize. Now, if you're using NGK spark plugs like me, you actually don't have to use any antisize. NGK states that antisize shouldn't be used on the threads of their spark plugs, and we'll go over that in a little bit in detail, and then some dielectric grease as well. Now before we begin, let's go ahead and just disconnect the battery. We definitely don't want the truck starting or even the ignition turning on when we have the plugs out of the motor. So when doing plugs on these trucks, what I like to do, what I realize is most easiest, is if we just do the plugs on one side, continue that side, and then jump over to the next. So beginning with the first step, let's just go ahead and remove the 4 10mm bolts that hold on all 4 coils. And what we can do, since there's a little bit of give with our wiring harness, is we can actually wiggle the coil, pulling up on it, and just set it downside. We don't even have to disconnect the connector for the coil. So now that our coil's removed, we have good access to our spark plugs, but before we remove them, what I like to do is take a little bit of shop air and blow some air into the spark plug tubes right here. Chances are, if you have a high mileage motor, there might be a little bit of dust and debris, and taking out the spark plug is going to give an open hole for the cylinder. We definitely don't want that debris to fall into the cylinder and cause any issues. So go ahead, if you don't have any shop air, you can maybe take a vacuum and try to suck out that hole to get any foreign debris out of that tube. So now, using our spark plug socket and a 6/8 extension, we can go ahead and remove these plugs. So as you can see, we have bank 1 plugs out and we're ready to install the new one. Now the only thing I do to these NGKs is put a little bit of dielectric grease where our coil contacts the spark plug. NGK specifically states that we don't use any antisize on these threads. They claim that they have a special coating on the threads that doesn't require any form of antisize, but if you go with any Autolite Champion spark plug or anything like that, I definitely would recommend that you put some antisize on the threads. Now I'll go ahead and include a link in the description of the article that NGK posts where they state that no antisize is to be used. So just a little dab of dielectric grease prevents any corrosion or any water getting in the contact between our spark plug and our coil. Now I'd recommend for these trucks going with an iridium or platinum plug. If you do go with those types of plugs, you shouldn't gap them. They should already come pre-gapped at 44 thousandths, which is the correct gap for those for these engines. Using a feeler gauge or a spark plug gapping tool, just a cheap one from any auto parts store, will work just fine. If you go with a copper plug, you will have to gap those. Generally, those plugs do not come gapped. Now that our spark plugs are prepped, we're pretty much ready to throw them in and install them. Now when starting these spark plugs inside their threads, I like to just get them hand tight, and when we get them tight, we'll go ahead and get the torque wrench out and torque them to 21 foot-pounds. Now that our plugs are in and torqued down, we can go ahead and reinstall our ignition coils. Now that we've wrapped up the driver's side, we can go ahead and go to bank 2, which is the passenger side. Pretty much reverse procedure from here, with the addition of a couple more things that are just in our way. And just like the driver's side, we're going to go ahead and blow out the spark plug tubes on the passenger side. Now that our old spark plugs are out and we've prepped our new ones, we can go ahead and throw them in and torque them down. Now that all 8 spark plugs have been replaced, that pretty much wraps up this video. So I hope this video has helped you out. If it has, please like and subscribe. Make sure to check out the links in the description for any more information, torque specifications, anything like that. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.